Social justice is when you take the law and you apply it differently to different groups in order to obtain a common good for the benefit of the society generally. Now contrast that system of justice, which ignores the idea or ideals of private property, with a system of equal justice, which is reflective of the reality of our unalienable rights vested in each of us by our Creator, not to be messed with by government. Our right to life, our right to liberty, our right to the use of property, our right to the pursuit of happiness. Social justice is to replace equal justice based upon the ideals of unalienable rights, and it has happening in courtroom after courtroom across the United States, beginning with the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, the second E is economy. What do globalists mean by economy? They usually call it the new economy. In short, there are two basic principles. The first is the international redistribution of America's wealth. This accounts for all kinds of things. This is why you can't cut down trees in California, or in Washington, or in Idaho. A warehouser can go to other countries, bring the lumber back in. That's all part of the redistribution scheme. NAFTA and CAFTA and other international trade agreements are part of that as well. It is why America, in a short period of time, has gone from happy and healthy families with one wage earner to stressed and de-stressed families with two wage earners. That was all intended as part of America's redistribution of its wealth with the rest of the world. The president today is calling for a tax upon Americans to support third world countries in their implementation of sustainable development policy. Now, it's not just because it's Barack Obama who is president. If George Bush was still president, the time for this message is now, and it doesn't matter who's president, because everyone who's been president for a long period of time has simply been a mouthpiece for the globalist mentality that has swept America. The second economic principle is the replacement of free enterprise with government-business partnerships. In Texas, they're facing a circumstance where their freeway system is being given away to a Spanish corporation in order to create the Trans-Texas Corridor, which is designed to go from central Mexico into Canada so that all goods unloaded from China go to Mexico, across our border, no customs, and into this country. The people of Texas have waged a courageous battle, just as the legislature and the people of Washington have waged a courageous battle in defeating the Y2Y in this region. The Texan people have risen up against this transportation corridor to the benefit, the great benefit of all of us. But understand that all aspects of business are now dominated by public-private partnership interests. You know, you can't build a house in California unless you're a nonprofit that takes government money to build houses so that the government can then choose on these affordable housing units who lives there and what the rules are. That's the kind of housing that is being built in California. And in Santa Cruz, that is exclusively the kind of housing being built. But the third E traps the people, because it's the environment. Now, clearly, government has a role in protecting the environment. It is the government's role to make sure that our water supply stays clean, that we don't pollute water. It is the government's role to make sure that our air stays clean. And having been raised in Southern California, I can tell you that in the 1960s, the government had failed its job. Okay? Clean air and clean water are a legitimate environmental function of government. The third legitimate function of government in respect to the environment is to make sure that I don't pollute your property and that you don't pollute their property. Okay? But if you want to paint your pink Cadillac with graffiti, that's your business. Meaning that if you want to use your land in a way that your neighbors may not like, they wouldn't do themselves. But if you're not polluting the air and you're not polluting the water, it is your property and your use is your choice. That is the American foundation. That's the nature of unalienable rights. Understanding the 3 E's is a big step to being able to recognize the 1,000 points of darkness that emanate from sustainable development policies. I recommend that when you go home, you review the organizations and websites that I've shown you earlier. There are many other examples in your areas. Discover who their real supporters are and analyze the programs. Then organize to bring the message of individual liberty, private property, and equal justice to the residents of your county. The sustainability process is accelerating, and it's not going to be reversed unless the people here react. Sooner is better, and it will be easier than waiting till later. I must observe, though, that it strikes me that the people of this area, eastern Washington and northern Idaho, may be ready to lead the country. I'm not asking you to lead the country. I'm asking you, work to save freedom in your own community. Because when you do it here, and when communities in Texas do it there, and when central Wisconsin carries on its program, and the people in Alabama do what they're doing to fight this situation, when local people from across the country find success, that's when the national government, the tyrannical national government, will fall. But we will not cause that to happen until we clean up our own towns, because the globalism is about a global to local program. You got to win it locally if we're going to take back the federal government. Agenda 21 is the globalist program for the 21st century. It has 3 broad objectives. First, the step-by-step abolition of private property. Let's count the ways. We can look at eminent domain. For 225 years, eminent domain was understood and believed to require, as the Constitution mandates, a public purpose, meaning we're condemning your property, sir, because we're going to put a school here, or we're going to put a highway here. But in 2005, the United States Supreme Court said, well, public purpose, we're going to expand that definition. And now it's going to include, if your local government can get more taxes by taking your house and giving it to Pfizer Corporation so they can build a parking lot, then move out. Move out now. So in the Kelo case, 300 houses were vacated, demolished, the land given over to Pfizer, who coincidentally has now decided not to build their plant. But what this has done is unleashed a torrent across the United States where smart growth advocates now have free and open doorways for the taking of your property or anyone's property for purposes of implementing sustainable programs. Also, certainly, we can look at the entire United States to include right here with the onerous regulations on landowners that effectively negate the private use and enjoyment of property. Unalienable rights are being destroyed step by step. The second written objective of Agenda 21 is education for global citizenship, which means the ideals protected by the political recognition of unalienable rights is to be forgotten by current and succeeding generations. Today's teachers themselves largely do not understand unalienable rights. So if you think your children are being trained and raised and reared in an American society based on American